What's good? And welcome to the Reuben podcast, episode 1, season 1. I want to take a second to introduce myself to you guys. My name is Reuben, like I said. I am from New Zealand, so I am a New Zealander. I am a Christian. I am a singer, a recording artist, YouTuber, social media personality, inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, soon to be Twitch streamer, by the way, and a podcaster. Obviously, I'm a podcaster now. This is my first episode. I have 2 YouTube channels. You guys will be watching this podcast on my brand new YouTube channel, the Reuben podcast. And I have 2 other channels. I had my original YouTube channel, which is where I post my music and my cover songs. And I have my brand new channel that I started last year called Inspired by Reuben, where I do like inspirational, faith-based videos, things like that. You feel me? Now it's time to start my podcast. You have to bear with me, guys. It's my first time doing this, so it's going to be a bit rusty to start off with, but as time goes on, it'll become more natural, more relaxed. Obviously, it's my first time doing this, so come along for the ride. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, click that bell notification. Click it to all so that you'll never miss a podcast episode. And I just want it to be natural here. I just want to be myself. This is my natural vibe. And I just want to really connect with you guys moving forward. We're just here on the couch in my crib. This whole setup will change as time goes on. I'll probably get like a light with my name on it, or probably the name of the podcast on the back there. It'll take time. Bear with me. This podcast is also available on Spotify, so make sure you follow me on Spotify and add me to your favorite podcasts. And you can listen to me in your car or wherever you guys listen to your podcasts. It's going to be dope moving forward. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today's episode is going to be in honor of my father who passed away. Some of you who already follow me on my social media and my other YouTube channels would know that my dad passed away just over 3 months ago. So in November last year. It was so sudden. And I'm still trying to deal with it now. I'm still choked up about it. It's something that I've never gone through before, grieving and having to get used to grieving. I don't even know how to grieve, to be honest with you. It's just something I'm getting through now, bro. I'm trying my best. And who knows what is the right way to grieve, you know? I have been on YouTube for a very long time. I started my original YouTube channel back in 2012. Yes, I know, it's been a long time, man. I didn't really start uploading until 2016. And that was the era of reaction videos, and they were the main thing that everybody was doing back in the day. And that's how I launched my career, I guess you could say, online. And the rest is history. Here we are now, years later. So I've been doing it for a long time. I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a veteran. So we're going to be doing a segment when I start, and it's going to be, what song am I listening to right now? Well, basically, the song I'm listening to right now is it's a gospel song by CC Winans. It's called Worthy of It All. Yeah, I'm into gospel, guys. I don't know if you are, but that gets me going in the morning. It gives me what I need. And I'm going to be doing a segment called Throwback Album of the Week. So each week I'll give you guys that. My throwback album this week is Daydream by the one and only Mariah Carey. If you guys don't know, I'm a fan of Mariah. Some may say Lamb. Daydream came out in 1995. It was one of Mariah's biggest albums. I believe it sold more than 20 million copies. It's one of my favorite, definitely on my top 5 of MC's albums, for sure. For sure, it'll be in my top 5. And that album had songs like Fantasy, Open Arms, Always Be My Baby, Forever, all of those kind of songs. Now, also, I'm going to do a segment called Song of the Week, because obviously my podcast will be weekly, so each week I'll have a different one. And so the Song of the Week, this episode is One Sweet Day, which is appropriate for this episode because of the passing of my dad. One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey featuring Boyz II Men. Can't forget Boyz II Men as well. They were definitely on the track. That was the longest running number one song of the 90s, man. Unbeatable. I love music, guys. Also, we're doing a segment called The Movie I Saw Recently. That can be any movie that I saw recently. Well, back on Valentine's Day, I went with a family member and we went to see Titanic 3D in 3D. Yes, I know I've already seen the movie before, but I went to see it in 3D, and that was fire. It was next level. Not gonna lie. I always wanted to see it in cinema because obviously I was too young to see it when it originally came out in 1997. So it was special. And there was a lot of people on Valentine's Day dates watching it that night. And at the end of the movie, everybody clapped and they sang the Celine Dion song at the end. So it was a vibe. It was a whole vibe. Just seeing the movie again, even though I've seen it a million times before, it was just different seeing it in the cinema, you feel me? I just really, really wanted to do that. Okay, now the movie that I want to see Creed 3. And I didn't think that I would be the type to want to watch that kind of movie because I'm not necessarily into boxing, so there's just so much hype around the movie that I really want to check it out. I just want to see what's all the hype about. Have you guys seen Creed? Let me know in the comments. So before we start and get right into the deep part of this podcast episode, I just want to introduce you guys to my dad. So here he is. This is my dad. Passed away. A kind, humble man. Some of you guys may remember him from my videos. Yeah, I'm going to let him sit right here next to me. I'm going to hold on to his photo right here. So this episode, like I said, is dedicated to my dad. He was my encourager. He was a very encouraging man. He was a humble man. He wasn't one really for the camera. So basically all the things that I do online, but he really enjoyed spending time with me on my YouTube channel. I think it inspired him and opened him up to a different world. He did his best to look after me and the rest of my siblings, and he was a great dad. And I appreciate all the lessons that he taught me. And it hurts that he's gone. I'm still in shock about his death and his passing, even though it's 3 months later. And I have been getting through the grief. I've been surviving by the grace of God and by the mercy of God. No lie, no cap. God's been good to me, and this has been the end of an era for me in my life, but it's also now the start of a new era moving forward and a new chapter. But this guy right here, he made his mark, and as much as I wish he could come back, I know that he would want me to be doing what I'm doing right now, starting this podcast and moving forward into all the dreams that I have and that he knew about. And he always championed me to go for, and I will go for because of him and his encouragement. My bond with Dad grew stronger as I got older, more than when I was younger. And I don't know if you guys have close relationships with your dad. If you're watching, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Feel free to share your story about your dad in the comments. Maybe your father passed away. I'm not sure. Let me know. I'm happy to talk to you guys about it, and it helps me with my grief and getting through it. I have been doing emotionally pretty well and able to find the positive things in every day. But I find that my grief comes in waves, and I find myself crying sometimes because of the memories and the good times we had together. but I will try my best to carry on his legacy. Sorry, guys, getting a little bit emotional about it. He just meant a lot to me, guys. Yeah. And so that leads into the topic of this episode, which is progress over perfection. So I have struggled with looking for validation from others, and procrastination and perfectionism. My dad knew that, and he was my biggest champion to try and motivate me to push through those boundaries and just go for it. Because with my perfectionism, it caused me to do things like, oh no, it doesn't look good enough. Oh no, it's not ready to go out yet. Especially with like my music, for example. I'm learning now, since being in therapy, that it's about just showing up, doing your best, and making it happen. Because with the passing of my father, I've realized that life is just so short, man. It's so short. We don't have a lot of time here on this earth. Going into therapy was something that I never thought I would have to do. There is a stigma about it, and I never knew that I would go into it. But bro, it has been life-changing for me. And my therapist actually inspired the topic of this episode. But I thought it was a perfect topic because it's something that a lot of people struggle with: seeking validation, perfectionism, and procrastination. Procrastination's been a big one for me. But by even starting this podcast, I am breaking that cycle and pushing myself now. You only get one life, guys. You only get one life. And so you might as well go for your dreams. You might as well go for what you want to do and give it everything you've got, because you never know, you might just achieve it. Or do you want to pass away, or do you want to get to the end of your life and look back and think, I should have done that, I should have done this, and have many regrets? I don't want it. I don't want it, and I'm not going to be that guy. God has a purpose and a mission for your life, and it's your job to find it. And that's what I'm doing, bro. I'm trying to find my purpose. And I think by starting this podcast, it's a step in the right direction. So make a start. If you have been procrastinating about something in your life, maybe you want to start a podcast, go for it. It won't be perfect, but at least you made a start. It's about progressing from week to week, just like I will with this first season 1 of my podcast. Each week, hopefully I will progress and become an even better podcaster, because it's a whole new realm for me. It's a whole new media doing podcasting. Yes, okay, I've been online on YouTube and doing other things, but I haven't done stuff like this before. This is different. I'm excited. My identity is in Christ, and I know that. I know that now. And I know it's working in my gift, because I remember when I was really young, one of my family members said to me, Reuben, you should have your own radio show. And now that I think about it, here we are years later, I kind of do have my own radio show. This podcast will be my radio show. I can do whatever I want. I can talk about whatever topics and share it with you guys. I'm happy. And I do believe we're in the end times, so we really don't have a lot of time left. So I know I have to show up for myself. So I'm not going to let my past struggles, and even the things I still struggle with now, stop me. I have to elevate. This year, 2023, it's my golden hour. And that's the song that's been ringing in my head, that God's been putting in my head. It's your golden hour. And I even talked about that on my other YouTube channel. And I truly believe it. I believe if you're watching or listening to this podcast, it's your golden hour. Who knows? I may end up interviewing people on my podcast, fellow YouTubers, fellow content creators, entrepreneurs, coaches, leaders, and fellow singers. You never know. So my podcasts are going to be half an hour long each time, and it's just enough time to cover each topic. So I'm going to really give this podcast a go, try as hard as I can to give you guys quality content moving forward. And it won't be perfect, but at least I will be progressing. And that's the lesson that I'm learning now, and what I'm actioning now by stepping out in faith and doing this, and trusting that God's going to take me on a journey with this podcast. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what's going to happen with this, how big it's going to go. Only God knows. And at least I'm showing up. I'm showing up. That's the main thing. You feel me? And I just want to encourage you guys. Start your own podcast. Maybe you've been thinking about it. Start a YouTube channel. If you have a voice and you want to share your opinions and ideas about things, there's no excuse not to share it these days because there's so many platforms you can use. And you don't have to be a perfect person. You just have to be real. And I'm excited to see my own progress as time goes on. And I want to see you progress too. And just to close up this episode, I want to say thank you to my therapist for inspiring this topic. I want to say thank you to my dad for everything. I want to share a little bit about our final moments together. I was actually blessed enough to be the one of my siblings who got to spend Dad's final moments with. It was with me. And I won't go into too much detail, but I will say that he was just encouraging me. We were talking about stuff. Basically, the final words he said to me was, "Go for it, son. Go for it." And that was in regards to this podcast, in regards to everything that I was procrastinating about in my life, not just social media, but basically in all areas of my life. I've learned now that Dad is gone, that seeking validation is just a waste of time. And I will never do that again. The opinions of other people doesn't matter. It shouldn't even matter to me because at the end of the day, when you're gone, and life goes on. People move on and they get on with their lives. So why waste your time worrying about what people think? And even though my perfectionism is something that I will have to conquer over time, at least I'm making a start. So no more procrastinating anymore. So Dad's final words to me was, do it, make it happen. So here I am, starting this podcast, finally. After all the time talking about it behind the scenes, it's finally starting in March 2023. And I'm honored to begin this journey. Thank you, Dad, for your encouragement my whole life. I'll never take it for granted. I dedicate this podcast, my first podcast, to the memory of my father, Bill. Aroha nui, Dad. I love you. I miss you. You will never be forgotten. I will make you proud, Dad. I promise. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Click the follow button if you're listening on Spotify. Click that like button so we can share it on the algorithm. And leave your comments down below, guys. Have you lost your dad? Are you going through grieving like I am? What are some tips you have for me? I'd like to know. So far, I've been okay getting through it, but I don't know how this journey's going to go moving forward. Maybe I'll be a wreck in a month or two. I don't know what it is to grieve. I'm just trying my best to get through it. Be productive, but at the same time, feel the emotions when I need to feel them. I remember when my dad passed, I came home after the funeral and cried for about 2 days and just stayed in my bed. I didn't know what to do. I really didn't. And that's just what I did. That's how I dealt with it straight away, straight after. I felt like my world had changed forever, which it has, obviously. I guess I've been doing okay in terms of grieving. I don't know how you would measure it, but I guess if you were to measure it, I've been doing fairly okay. And therapy has definitely helped, like I said. So be inspired, be encouraged to start whatever you need to start in your life right now, guys. Get it going, make a start. Life is short. Use this episode as fuel, as fire under your feet to get going. To know that even someone like me who's in the grieving process right now, and it'll probably take years, I don't know if I'll ever get over this, but even someone like me is making a small start, picking myself up again and letting God lead me to the next thing. Not rushing it, but just taking my time, putting one foot in front of the other. Thank you, God, for giving me the strength. Leave your thoughts down below, guys. If you're watching the podcast on the YouTube channel, let's have a conversation down in the comments. Until the next episode, peace. Rest in heaven, Dad.